Let's call the regular meeting of the Open Space Committee for September 2nd to order. 4:33. We will do the approval of minutes when we have a quorum. So I'll just, actually, let me first make sure that we don't have any public audience. I didn't receive any, but I just want to confirm that none had been received. No?
You're confirming what?
That we don't have any public audience today.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So why don't we move to our oral reports, and starting with Tom with the Parks and Open Space Master Plan.
Sure. I had, as I mentioned last time, I had submitted all of our comments following the joint meeting to Dan Biggs at Weston and Sampson. He says, since we've gone back and forth a few times, he did send me a revised document on late Friday. I have not had a chance to review it yet. I was off for some time, so I will get to that later this week, early next week, and our anticipated presentation to the Board of Selectmen is scheduled for late October. I don't have the exact date in front of me. It might be the 26th, Maria. I'm not positive.
Let me see. Sorry, it'll just take me 1 second. Yes, the 26th.
You said that was for the Board of Selectmen, but when will we see it?
So
will
correct.
We see it before?
I'm assuming Maria will want to take a look at it, and then we will pass it, distribute it out to the two groups one more time. But you all be invited to the presentation, at least via Zoom, I would assume, to the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions on the open space or Parks and Rec plan? So the next item is an oral report on the status of the potential disposition of open space near Holcomb Street. Who has that one?
You know, since Mike wasn't able to join us, maybe I'll start off, and then Tom, and Eric, if you guys want to add anything to that. Great. So we held, the Board of Selectmen held a second public hearing on the matter. That was at their August meeting. So they did receive some additional comment. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but I would say we probably received about 10 to 15 comments at the second public hearing.
Can you go, Maria? I'm sorry to be a pest. Just go a little slowly, please.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry.
I'll try to slow down, Helen. Sure, no problem. So I was saying that the Board of Selectmen held a second public hearing in August on the matter. They received approximately 10 to 15 comments at the second hearing. The comments this time were more so in favor of the disposition. The first public hearing, the comments were more so against the potential disposition. So the Board of Selectmen did not take action at their meeting that evening. They're definitely, processing all of the information that they've received and heard. They do anticipate discussing the merits at a September meeting, but no formal decision has been made at this point. I don't know, Eric, Tom, if you want to add anything to that.
That's a good summary. Nothing to add from my perspective, but glad to take any questions.
I believe everyone's fairly familiar with the situation, so nothing really to add.
So I just had one point. So I think the comments that were received at the second hearing, those were on a common letter, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I know there were a lot of individual comments as well as a bunch of comments on a common letter at the first one too. So in terms of individual comments, we received a lot more individual comments that were really questioning the disposition of open space in this manner, just to clarify that point. So, and I just want to say publicly, as you know, I've been not in favor of this for a few reasons. And but I did appreciate the additional information that the Antonios provided at the first public hearing about the history of the parcel, that it used to be one piece, etc. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with this. I'm still opposed to this if the town is paying any money for this whole swap situation. I just don't think that's appropriate. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just, I appreciate the additional history, and that did change my viewpoint a little bit, but I don't feel it's appropriate for the town to be paying money for this situation in general.
Thanks, Susan. Any other questions or comments? Hi, Dave. Welcome.
Is there any opportunity that we might be able to make a comment other than in this meeting?
Yeah.
I mean, going forward.
So there would be an opportunity.
We have another, I'm sorry. I was going to finish my question. What I am inferring is if that is not going to be on this month's agenda of the Board of Selectmen, correct? Did I understand correctly? It's not on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for this month.
I would anticipate that it'll be on our next agenda. Maria?
Oh, it will be.
Definitely a September meeting. Yep.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What I
just want to reiterate that I am also still concerned that this is not the right thing to do, and it is not an appropriate action on the part of the town.
What I would, that you had asked if there was an additional opportunity to provide comment, and there will be public comment at the beginning of our Board of Selectmen meeting, as there is at the beginning of every meeting. If anyone on this call wants to submit comment, and we're also starting a new process where you can write in and we can read your comments, or you can join the Zoom meeting and participate in public audience like we have traditionally. And that's something we're looking to start at our next meeting.
Thank you for the
Eric,
reminder.
my apologies for being on here late, but what are we talking about?
The potential disposition of a small parcel of open space along Holcomb Street.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else on this item? Okay, and then lastly, possible grant opportunities related to the Pollinator Pathways program. Who has an update on this one?
I don't know anything about an update, but Susan, you had your hand up?
I know about the grant opportunities. They're not limited to, but could be used for the Pollinator Pathway program. So this would be through Sustainable CT. They have a matching grant program. And so far I've done 2 projects with the Grange. We rebuilt community garden beds and kind of buffed up a community garden in Hartford that we've been partnering with. And so we did that fundraising, we closed that, and then we quickly did another matching grant, which was to fund farmers' apprentices in town. It's been a very busy year for local farmers. So we mobilized 2-point-something apprentices. And so that went really well. And then they ran out of money. But then they got more money and they reopened the program. So if the town, I'm planning to do another project through the Grange, but the town can also do a project. So if to get funding for example, the Pollinator Pathway program, I've been for a long time doing an ecology trail to Tooten Hills. That would be on town property, that would qualify, or anything that someone wanted to do that would fit within the scope of Sustainable CT. It's really very easy, and I'd be happy to help anyone who wanted to get that off the ground. So I just wanted to make people aware of it. I think the projects are up to It's up to $30,000, but now they have a new one for energy projects that's up to $50,000. So you have to raise half of whatever your total goal was. So for example, when we did the garden beds, I think our goal was something like $6,000. We only raised a little over $2,000, but then we were able to get a bunch of wood delivered. So we got ultimately around $4,000. We're able to get the wood donated. So we were able to complete that. And then for the farmer's apprentice, our goal was actually $15,000 for 5 apprentices. And we only raised a little over $7,000 for 2-point-something apprentices. So anyway, it was relatively easy and quick. And so I just wanted people, I know we represent a bunch of different arms of the town. I just wanted to put that out there and say that it was definitely doable. And the only rule is you have to get 20 different donors to contribute, and that could be any amount. But it does want to make sure that there's community support and involvement for the project.
Susan, I didn't hear you when you said the total amount for the grant, not the energy one, but the first one.
That one is $50,000 total.
Both the energy one and the other one, they're both 50?
The other one is 30.
30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Any other questions on this item? Great. Let's move on to the policies work group, starting with the natural stewardship policy. Susan, should I turn the floor back over to you?
Sure. Does someone have the document that they could share, or I could try and pull that up? Would that be, let me see. Am I allowed to share?
Looks like you've been made the co-host, so hopefully you see a share button.
Oh, goody. Okay, give me just a minute to find the document. And so this is kind of one arm of what we've been talking about in the open space policy meeting. You know, what would be our stewardship on different types of open space? I know Mike Glidden isn't here, but we had talked about, you know, how and when should we take care of our grasslands and our shrublands. We had looked at a bunch of ag policies to try and update our agricultural leases for the bits of farmland that we have. And then we also have kind of our more natural areas. So hang on, I've got this now. So this is a document that I basically pulled together to try and have like a simple, let me see here, to have kind of a simple overview of what would be kind of the approach and the philosophy if you have a natural area that doesn't need constant mowing or, you know, some kind of intervention. So so I'll just kind of go through it a little bit slowly. I'm assuming everyone can see this.
Yes.
And I made it about a forest because a forest is the natural ecosystem in most of Connecticut, unless it's right by the coast or super rocky or really too wet for trees to grow. So this is just kind of a little bit of background. And then a list of resources for more information. So it basically says, okay, like this is a natural area. This is how things evolve. This kind of stuff has been going on for millions of years. So, you know, things happen, trees die, bugs come in, and this is kind of part of evolution. And one of the benefits of this is allowing evolution to continue. It maximizes the kind of the carbon that's on the land and maximizes the native species that can live there. and kind of the diversity of habitats that develop in response to these different things that happen in nature. Then it talks about it can happen anywhere unless it's precluded by a deed or some kind of an easement that says that it's intended for a special type of habitat or intended for, resource use for wood production. It says that it's similar to the national parks or the Adirondacks. So this is a common practice in other areas, but it's actually quite rare in southern New England, which is one of the main points. So only 5% of southern New England is right now under this kind of stewardship. And actually only a very, very tiny fraction is protected as such. So this is something that I realized a few years ago. I didn't really understand the different kinds of, stewardship that was kind of controlling over different pieces of land. But without any national parks or without any federal wilderness areas, there's almost nothing protected in southern New England. And the reason why I think this is such a concern is because we're such a densely populated area. People need places to go and get away. We're a critical corridor for species to migrate northward with climate change. And this is also an area where people are growing up and learning about nature. And how can people learn about nature, and how can science and education continue if people never see what a natural area actually looks like? And I also think this is a real equity and environmental justice issue, because a lot of people don't have the time or the money or neither to travel to someplace and go on vacation. So we need these areas for people to have access to that can, just take a vacation. We also want to encourage people to stay in Connecticut and stay in Simsbury and visit these beautiful places that we have. So there's also a little list. What are the benefits? So it maximizes carbon, ecological and structural complexity, clean air and water, the molecular and genetic diversity, which is also important as a source of new medicines and molecules, minimizes invasives, reduces extinction, gives people a chance to escape and attach to a place that they know will be there, and they can, experience it with their children, and then their children can experience it with their children. So it connects across generations. It provides control areas for areas that we're managing so that we can actually understand what we're doing. And it saves time and money because you don't have any regular jobs that you have to do chronically to maintain the habitat. So as I said, there's some examples. It's a common type of stewardship under the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. It's supported by the public. And a little summary, and then I'm sorry, I'm just going through this quickly, but you can all read it more at your leisure. Then this gives you kind of some checkpoints, no routine maintenance. Here's some conditions that might develop and what you might do to respond to it. You should monitor regularly, and we've talked about having kind of ranger type group to check areas. So maybe there could be monitoring by the town at some interval, and more regular kind of citizen groups keeping track of stuff. Where should you monitor more frequently? So borders are often an issue with encroachment or dumping or invasive. So these are the areas that are most likely to have a problem. You might want to take regular kind of photo points or data if you want to see what's going on. So this is another opportunity for citizen science and just, taking care of things and just keeping track of them. And I'm just shocked at how little long-term data we really have for what we're doing with the natural world. So then there's, a bunch of additional resources. And, I think it might be useful to just consider this sort of a living document if we have any more input or additional resources. I wanted to let you know that this was reviewed by several public policy people and ecologists, including Joan Maloof of the Old Growth Forest Network, Ed Faison, senior ecologist at Highstead, Harry White, who's an ecologist in Colebrook and won the statewide Land Conservation Award a few years ago, and a couple of other people. So this has been going around for literally more than a year. So I'm very excited to show it to you today. And I think that there's some properties in town that Tom has said were already kind of taken care of like this. But this, it can just kind of be a document that can sort of travel along with what I'm hoping is attached to our open space, culture parks and open space master plan, where we can kind of keep some documentation that people can refer to going forward. So that's my little presentation. I appreciate your attention and happy to answer any questions.
I think this is fantastic. I think this is so much far above and beyond what the town has for management plans. I mean, we have those management plans, which really don't address any of these issues. We already have a considerable amount of land in the town in the state forest, which is managed for wood products. I think it would be a nice counterbalance to have the town land as non-forested areas for recreation and science. I think this is the way to go. And as far as getting people in about the social justice, I know I work at Bolingbrook Nature Center. The children that come from areas that don't have forests, when they get into the tiny forest that's around the nature center, they are awed. They think they've gone into the great wilderness, and it is a great experience for them. So the same thing with the town land. We have some wonderful, wonderful properties, and we're not interested in making $1,000 a year in lumber products, timber products on those things. I think the public has demonstrated they're not happy with the disruption that those activities cause, and there's really no need for that at this point.
Helen, please.
Thank you. I guess I'd like to speak a little bit differently about this wonderful document that Susan has brought to us. I would like to speak to it from the perspective of what it will do for this particular committee. And the content is so essential to what we are supposed to be doing as far as stewardship is concerned. And I want to know if we can in some way today incorporate this particular document actively into what I call what we need as tools for this committee. I've had this conversation with Maria. I just will capsulize it a little bit. Just as the Planning Commission has their POCD, the Conservation Commission has its regulations, the Zoning Commission has its regulations. You have that toolbox right there next to you. And that's what you refer to, and that's what you work from, and that's how you present yourself. This committee doesn't have that toolbox in place yet, and it's been a long time coming. So I am going to suggest that a document such as this, essential as it is to our work, it needs to be put into the record and not floating off into the clouds and into the minutes somewhere. It needs to be in our toolbox right next to us as we in this committee are doing our work. I'm reflecting on a meeting that I was not able to attend. It's back in the winter sometime, December, January. And the subcommittee came forward with another document. I think it was 16 points or so relative to criteria and so forth of acquisition, perhaps, identifying. That's gone up into the clouds. It's somewhere in the minutes. It was not voted in or presented, or let's say absorbed by the committee to become a working document as we work forward. And we've got to find out how to do that. And I suggest that today's a good time that we put this information right before us. Some of the other things that could be in our toolbox, there's mentioned in the code, chapter 21.8. It tells you, it mandates what this committee is about and what it's supposed to be accomplishing. There's another reference in the stewardship policy that this open space committee adopted, but it's only mentioned in the minutes of a meeting in April of 2016 of all dates. But it's a piece of what and who we are and what we're supposed to be doing. And then more recently, when the Board of Selectmen voted and decided that the Open Space Committee was going to be the go-to committee mandated to do the due diligence for all things open space, stewardship, or acquisition. And where is that document in front of us, part of the toolbox, so that each member of the committee knows where our responsibility is and whether or not we are executing that responsibility. We have the inventory, that should be part of our toolbox. It should be there next to us so that we can be referencing it as necessary. I'm not saying each and every one of these things will be referenced in every meeting, but they should be part of a toolbox that we have and each member has right next to them so that we can make reference. So I would like to suggest that, and thank Susan for this presentation and for bringing this to our attention. How do we now take that step to make it a working part of this committee, a working document?
Maybe
Thank you.
if I could jump in, because then I do have a question. First of all,
Who's
Susan,
that? I'm sorry, who's talking?
David Bush, Helen, how are you?
Oh, okay. I don't see you on the screen, so I can't read your lips.
Okay, then you know what? I talk loud all the time. At least my wife complains that I do, so I'll continue to talk loud. Am I talking loud enough for you?
I'm not catching what you're saying, and I know you're speaking to me specifically.
All right.
Go slowly.
Okay, Susan, the question that I had, first of all, thank you. Great work. Absolutely great work. What I was looking for in the document is you use the term natural area stewardship, and then it says it's possible for any and all part of any forest. Do we envision identifying the parcels in our town that might be coming within this umbrella?
Before Susan weighs in on that, I would like to say one little thing. What I meant to say was she brought this document before us. Now it was time to discuss the document before it's put into the record. Yes, this is the important piece that we have to also attend to, which is the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Susan?
Yeah, so this came up kind of in conjunction with when we were talking about having Belden Forest added into the old growth forest network, because then it's a question like, okay, we have this forest in the old growth forest network, and how are we going to take care of it? And I think that the idea that, well, the forest will take care of itself is too wishy-washy for people. They want to have like, well, what exactly do we do when this happens or when that happens? And since there are areas that are taken care of like that, like national parks or other areas, it's useful to have kind of an overview. So Belden would be definitely a natural opportunity for this. I would suggest that based on the new information about the Eastern Wildway, Onion Mountain would be a place for this, or at least part of it. And this document is flexible. I mean, Onion Mountain has issues with invasives up by the pond. So that is something that, you know, could be addressed. So I'm just giving notional examples. Belden's a definite Onion Mountain's a possibility. And then if you read the spirit of the contracts and easements for the Ethel Walker Woods, it says basically, okay, if trees fall, you should let them be and things like that. So parts of Ethel Walker are the fields. There's a part called the Wagner Meadow, but there's also parts that I think this would apply to. So it could apply to either all of a property like Belden, or maybe part of a property like the Ethel Walker Woods. And maybe just identifying areas that would be suitable for this would kind of help us to sort of work in conjunction with the open space master plan.
So you use the perfect example is I walk my dog over at Belden Forest, and recently, based on the storm, there's a number of trails that have now been fallen trees are blocking them from a reasonable walk. And I see from your document that, clearing trails is fine. I think my suggestion would be that and also again, I love your word toolbox. I think it's a great phrase, toolbox. Before we adopt the toolbox, I think we need to know what tools are going into the toolbox, because I have somebody come along. Sorry, I'm Park and Rec. I'd hate to have somebody come along and say, oh, by the way, Simsbury Farms has forests surrounding it, and you can't take those trees down in a certain manner when we believe it's beneficial to the growth of grass or what have you, versus Belden Forest, Onion Mountain, so many other places we can think of. So I just would love, before we adopt the toolbox, we figure out what tools are going in it.
I guess I'm trying to express myself differently. The toolbox is not set in stone. It should be a working document. I just don't want to continue our work without putting that piece of material, that information, that document there, so that we can be talking about it. When is the subcommittee, let's say, expected to come? Have we set a date? When is it expected to, let's say, come forward with a stewardship plan that we can officially adopt in that way? But I think somehow we're not getting there, and I'm trying to look for ways to accomplish that. I'm not saying that my suggestions are always right, but I'm just sort of frustrated, I guess, and I'm trying to find a way that we can work toward that goal in a more efficient timing, so that we can really participate in the work that we're supposed to be doing.
I think my comment would be that the forests are here forever. We finally now have a nice document that I think, again, is a great template for the notion of how this should be addressed. Tom has indicated his full support of the document and its content about, we're not removing these trees. We're simply maybe moving some off trails. I just think that I think it's literally could be done before the next meeting and taken care of at the next meeting. We go through our inventory with Tom and with this commission, and we identify, all right, this one fits. And even Susan, as you said, there could even be certain parts where we say, hey, Onion Mountain fits, but we got an issue right around the ponds of invasives. Let's just make sure everyone understands, if we make a proposal to eradicate those, it's okay under the plan, because it's a living document. It's not set in stone, but I just think I'd like to have at least a parameter of what properties generally fit in and those that maybe are different.
Yeah, Susan?
Yeah, so I agree with you, Dave. I think it would be a minority of our properties.
Right.
This would not be assumed to be the controlling document. It would be something that would specifically be applied to certain properties that we feel that it fits. And I would suggest initially we just kind of pick the low-hanging fruit that it makes total sense, right? Because we have a lot of properties, that's going to be the living part, right? We pick some obvious ones, and then maybe we pick some more as we go along. So the way I see this as a tool, I would see this as working in conjunction with our updated agricultural lease parameters, our maybe best management practices for maybe our grasslands that are, special habitats or shrublands that we need to mow periodically. That would be another kind of type of management. So the tools are going to develop over time. And I think kind of addressing Helen's question about when are we going to get this done? I guess I'm not sure about when it will be done, but we can start taking some steps. And I know Mike isn't here today, but I think we've just been busy with other things. That list that we made, Marjorie, I think it was presented at the meeting in January, and it kind of, hasn't been, we said, okay, we're going to look at it and then kind of finalize it. That could probably be done soon.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Susan.
I was
You
talking.
said something, you were
The
talking
list.
about the 16-point item that I brought up?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
what did you say?
That could be something we could revisit soon. And so are the putting together the agricultural lease document is something that I think could be done fairly soon also. And then we'll kind of start to, figure out what's going on where.
And
Okay.
I don't think we've had a subcommittee meeting for some time. This would be a good opportunity to set one.
Yeah, I've been quiet listening to the conversation, and I just want to underline how important I think that this document is. And I think that what's happening at Misako is just one example of how delicate these parcels are. And I echo Helen's desire to move this work forward expeditiously. I don't think that it is going to take a lot to put a bow on this. What I would recommend is to complete the work as quickly as possible at the subcommittee level, and then share this document in our next open space packet, so the public will also have the opportunity to provide any input, and then we can discuss adopting it as a group.
Thank you.
Eric, I agree with you. And both Susan, Marjorie, and Helen, if you folks had a suggested list of that low hanging fruit, I'd be more than happy to work with you about before the next meeting. Let's have a list of here are the no-brainers. Here are the ones that we have some issues to talk about. And I don't think it's that hard just to get started. And I'd like, again, Helen's thing, let's just kind of get started. But we have the list now, the inventory, because of the master plan being done. I'd love to hear from more of the open committee, the open space committee, what you guys think is the low hanging fruit. And, let's all give some input before our next meeting, and let's get ready to move it forward.
Well, certainly we have the 4 management plans that we have for, I can't remember what the 4th one is, Onion Mountain, Belden, Ethel Walker, and there was one more.
Stratton Brook.
Stratton Brook. Those were management plans that the town had that came before conservation, and we found several of us found them rather inadequate. I think those are certainly ones that we could tackle right away.
Can I just ask Susan about one little thing that she brought up about, she was referring to certain spots or areas within the Ethel Walker Woods. Susan, just simple question. Are you referring to what has been talked about as the core forest within the forest, the greater forest?
No,
No.
there's an area called the Wegner Meadow.
Okay, thank you.
And
I just had a
Maria, were you
sort
going
of
to?
Yeah, sort of just a process question. Susan, again, thank you for your work on this. I just think that this is really remarkable, and I don't think it's going to take much for us to polish it up and get it to the finish line. So just huge amount of thanks. In terms of if folks do have some feedback or some parcels that they might want to suggest that we include in this policy, just again, in terms of processes, and should folks send that feedback directly back to you? Would you like me to have my graduate intern student collect that feedback and kind of just put it together and then forward it back to you? What would be your preference in terms of managing that?
Can you return the screen back to your faces so I can see you? I'm sorry.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Better.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I don't know. I guess if we have a subcommittee meeting, it might be good to pre-discuss it in the subcommittee. And that's typically been me, Marjorie, Tim,
Right.
and Mike Glidden.
Yeah.
Anybody's welcome, but if we wanted to assign a staff person, maybe your intern could run it through Mike, or I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know what we could do is we could help with setting up the meeting. And again, maybe what we could do is have Lena sort of collect the feedback from everybody just to kind of help get ready for your subcommittee meeting. So we could definitely help with both of those things.
Okay. And I just want to encourage people, I'd rather just get a few that are really obvious, just kind of nailed down and not get into a complicated discussion. It's just, let's just go for the low-hanging fruit because, we have other tools in the toolbox that we want to get nailed down. This can be a living process. I don't want to get bogged down right now.
Right.
Oh, totally agreed, Susan.
Okay. Any other conversation on this? Great.
No, other than thank you again, Susan.
Yeah.
It's great to have someone who takes the lead, puts together a document with this amount of information, all the links. You did great work. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Anything else that anyone wanted to bring up under policies? Okay. I have not forgotten about the minutes. Were there any feedback on the minutes from our July 1st meeting?
Just a simple observation, how there were a lot of references in the minutes of July 1st, lines 1, 29, 43, 44, and 106, where the committee is referred to as the commission, and the clerk signs herself off as the commission clerk. It's just a little housekeeping, and it's also happens 2 places in the July 17th minutes. It's a general kind of comment to see if maybe that should not be corrected, because I think it can be misleading if ever referred to legally or anything. When you go back to minutes, you want them to be as clear as possible. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Helen. Any other feedback from either of the minutes from the July 1st or July 17th? Okay, with that change, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
So approve.
Okay, that's a second from Helen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Great. Any other business before I let everyone go tonight?
I have two tiny things.
Yes,
if people have the patience. Okay. One is a surprise. One is not a total surprise. Okay. Well, I guess no, both of them are surprises. Surprise. Okay. So the first thing is, some of you may know that we've been doing a little citizen science project at Masako. So I wanted to, I'm going to share my screen again super quickly. So let me see if I can figure this out. Sorry. So, and some of you may know, oh gosh, I'm supposed to be teaching a class of students. I better get my act together on all this Zoom stuff. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
And
Okay, so I just wanted to give you a little update because, as you know, the Eastern Wildway goes right by Simsbury. And here's just a little overview of the Wildway. So these dark green areas are kind of the core areas, and the lighter green areas are the connectors. And so you can see we're like a major thoroughfare for migrating species. You can see the Adirondacks is this big blob. So that's been protected, with the state constitutional clause since 18 something. And it's just, just amazing what's going on there in terms of the biodiversity and the carbon and everything. So if you look at this one on the right, this is basically carbon density for above ground carbon. And you can see here's the blob of the Adirondacks right here. And you can see that our whole area of Connecticut is very high in carbon. And we have older forests than average. And that, adds a lot of carbon. So we have really exceptional natural resources here. Okay, here's the super exciting thing. After the whole project started at Masako, and I knew about this Eastern Wildway thing, people contacted them and said, this is an error that this core forest, the Ethel Walker Woods, and this connector is not on the Eastern Wildway. And they said, well, this is a dynamic mapping. It's, we're refining it as we go along. We just published it in late 2019. But look, now we're on it. So here is the Ethel Walker Woods. This is the connector with Masako. This is the Corn Hunt neighborhood. So anyway, that's kind of cool. We're now officially on the Wildway. And just to give everyone, the reason why this is important is we're all worried about the really devastating reports on the extinction crisis. And the way you reduce extinction is by protecting intact habitat and keeping things together. So this is really important. There's also a major new report showing that, our trees, as they're older, are storing, not only are they big and already store a lot of carbon, they're continuing to suck in more carbon. So if you need wood, then sure, that's a good reason to be managing your forest. But if you don't need to manage it, then you're maximizing how much carbon it can store. So that's another little tidbit. And then this is a map about Masako. I wanted to tell everyone that we're still doing our citizen science work. We're moving it to a little bit later on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. And we meet here at the ball field, which is 150 Nimrod Road. So we have a few regulars, and then we have people that kind of come in and out. So that's been really fun. If you want to see it, that's a good time to come. And what we're doing for the Citizen Science Project is we're using this manual on stewardship science. So one of the authors of this helped with the natural area stewardship document. And it's basically saying, like, how would you do long-term monitoring, whether you manage it or you have it natural, or if you have certain species, how would you do that? And it's an extensive document. That's what we're using, all the protocols in this. We're registered in this regional database to input our data. And so we're using all these official data sheets and all this. And these citizen apps that they have now to identify plants and species are absolutely phenomenal. And my husband, who never buys apps, got this app, and I swear to God, he's identified, he's going crazy with it. He just loves it. So there's iNaturalist, and there's one called Picture This. If you haven't checked those out, they're really super, super fun. He's like, do you know we have 3 species of fern in our yard? And I didn't know that. So, you could know too. So anyway, that's my little quick update on that. And I appreciate you paying attention. I'll answer any questions on that. And I still have one other surprise.
I want to take your class, Susan. This is great. Wonderful.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm bringing my students actually this fall, so that's going to be really fun.
Very cool. So what's the surprise?
Okay, the other surprise, and this is, nobody has seen this yet. So some of you may know that the 350th committee is doing this, well, they're doing a lot of things, but one of the things is this medallion in honor of the 350th. And so this artist in Massachusetts helped to design it. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like. And it's so amazing. And I hope this is going to work on Zoom. We've been through, I have all the prototypes with me here, but I'm going to show you the amazing final one, which is, let me see if this will work. Can you see it? Can you pin me so it's really big?
Beautiful.
That's lovely.
What's the relative size? That's 2 or 3 inches or 2 inches? What is
It's
it?
about 3.5 inches.
3.5. Wow.
Yeah, I think
Beautiful.
in my video, you'll see it, it'll be big.
Yeah.
But you can see it has the river and the Pincho Sycamore and the tower. And if you look in like the corner up here, it has a teeny indication of King Philip's cave on the ridgeline.
Nice. There we
Just
go.
like bananas excited about this. And then here's the other side.
Wow.
It has the design is on the other side too. So
Ooh, look at that.
I know. So it's going to come with like a ribbon, but I'm thinking a really cool thing, you know, is you could just put it next to your door on your door frame. You know how people have, you know,
Yeah.
Jacob Marley lived here, you know, it could just be like a little like Simsbury marker. Anyway, I'm bananas excited about it. And I appreciate you humoring me showing it to you today.
Are
One,
those going to be sold for all the people watching at home? Are those on the 350th website, or will they be?
that's what I was going to ask.
They will be soon. And the goal is, this is the only one right now, but the goal is to have them delivered and for sale at the movie on September 12th, Jurassic Park at the PAC. So that'll be a good reason to go if hopefully they're done by then.
Great. Thank you.
Just to clarify on Susan, we are trying to stay contactless with products and that kind of thing. So they will be available via the website and able to pick up at the movie.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Everyone's got to be safe, but great work, Susan.
Yeah,
Sounds
great
like
work.
you're going to look forward to having this thing come out and let the public see it.
All right. And thank you for those. This is great. Any other business tonight? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I saw a hand, Dave. Is that second? Is that okay?
You know, every week I don't want to be the first guy to say
No,
motion.
I get it. I get it. All in favor?
I'll take a back seat.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
Everyone have a great Labor Day weekend.